You're about to make your pro MMA debut. Talk to me about this fight going against Adrian Lee.
His brother Christian is holding the belt for the division, and to start with the little bros where we're gonna have to be.
So you gonna try to beat up the family?
Dude, you know what? It's nothing personal. One lines us up with a bunch of Hawaiians too always. We love Hawaiians. It's nothing personal.
What do you think it would take to get Gi to that point where Nogi is now?
We can't have one guy going in there trying the same thing for 10 minutes. You can want to elevate the sport, or you can just care about winning, And winning to me isn't what's most important. For MMA, that's what's important, is winning.
Yeah.
Until I figure it out.
Now, you and Kade are in the same division then. If you guys had to fight each other in MMA, would you do it?
No, we wouldn't. I mean, I say that, but there's been a couple instances where it didn't seem like Kade was thinking twice about sending an elbow at the face. So I was like, man, we should do this.
Oh, it's 15-time world champion, Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the MIGHTYCAST.
What's going on, guys? This episode of the MIGHTYCAST is sponsored by PrizePicks. Now, PrizePicks is a daily fantasy sports game you play directly from your phone. It's very simple. Get on your phone, go to the App Store, download PrizePicks. And when you do that, use my promo code MIGHTYCAST. Cool promotion going on right now. All you gotta do is play $5 in your lineup. You can make your lineup in an event board. They have NFL, NBA, CSGO, NHL, MLB, you name it, they got it. And no matter what happens, you're gonna get $50 in your next lineup. So I enjoy doing price picks when I'm doing mixed martial arts, and especially the NFL. So make your picks at the right place, which is PrizePicks. Shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring this episode of the MIGHTYCAST. Now, let us enjoy this chat with the grappling phenom, Tye Ruotolo. Remember, look into the camera, Tye.
Yes, sir. It's so classic.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. What's going on, boys? Welcome back to another episode of the MIGHTYCAST, and I'm joined by one of the greatest grapplers of all time, Tye Ruotolo. He's got an MMA debut against Adrian Lee, and this man's been all around the world grappling. Tye, how you doing today, brother?
DJ, you legend. Super stoked to get on the podcast, man. Doing great.
That's what's up, man. Dude, the last time I saw you compete was in person. You did the CGI 1, and it was funny because you and your brother joined the tournament, and I remember Kade ended up winning it, but there was a potential that you guys were going to be able to grapple against each other. But, obviously you got injured. I want to talk about the injury, but did he end up splitting the money with you? Because he said he was going to split it with you if he was to win. Did he give you $500,000?
Yeah, so most of that money is still saved and gone into some property in Costa Rica that we consider to be both of ours. So he's a good brother for sure. He's a good man.
Did you ever think he wasn't gonna split it with you?
Yeah, you know what? There was a couple fights we had after where I was like, man, I don't know if this guy, how this is gonna work out. But that's my bro. We're brothers for life, and yeah, that's just that's how we work, man. We share everything we got. So cool.
That's what's up. What injury did you suffer when you were in the CGI?
Say it again.
What injury did you suffer when you were in CGI?
Yeah, I ended up tearing, I think it was like 3 or 4 ligaments, just like this outside corner in my knee. It was the LCL, the PCL, bicep femoris, and I think the fibular collateral ligament as well. So it's just the outside corner. I got pretty good. It was just through a little bolo exchange. I kind of threw on a toe hold. I wasn't thinking, had much juice on. I was just kind of flowing through the motions. And then he got scared of the toe hold, so he kind of extended his leg real quick. And then my foot came at me and torqued my knee. And it was the first time in a match where I really realized my knee is fully blown. I've injured my knee before in a match a couple of times, but that was like the first time where I was like, I can't. Every step was just painful, but got through it. Yeah, it was just part of the game, playing with fire, you're going to get burnt every now and then.
Yeah. Well, it's always fascinating because that's the one thing, like in Nogi, it's all leg entanglements, right? Like you and your brother, everybody jumps on people's legs and they just try to tear the ACL, toe hold, knee bars, where I feel like the ACL is the most dangerous one, but you guys just do it with no fear. I know Kade had an injury. You suffered a big injury at CGI. What was the recovery like? Did you get surgery? Did you have to do, obviously you did physical therapy, but did you have to get surgery?
I did the stem cell and the PRP, you know, and then so yeah, that stuff helped a bunch. And yeah, just a lot of physical therapy, and it just really took a while. It took like 7 months of just of really focused work on it, you know, and it was the biggest injury of my life so far, but super stoked to be past it. You know, you really are grateful for the small things, you know, is how, you know, when you're injured like that. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm stoked to be past it.
I don't know how you guys do it, because that's one thing that I don't even play with Nogi, because it's like I'm 38 years old. I have no interest getting a leg entanglement with another guy who's, you know, probably 38, 39, and just tearing my ACL. I'm like, great, now I can't fucking walk. I can't play football with my kids. I can't do these things with, you know, with my kids because that injury itself.
Yeah, it's brutal, you know, like jiu-jitsu can be so great and so good for you and so good for your life, but it could also honestly be terrible for you too, depending on how you're doing it and who you're doing it with, you know, quite frankly. So yeah, as long as you got good training partners, you guys aren't ripping your heels off, you know, you guys should be pretty good. But yeah, it's hard to avoid sometimes, you know, it's part of the game, you know, at least when you're competing, you know.
Yeah.
Nogi.
Yeah. And then after that, you went back to one championship where you were the champion, one championship, and then you had two grappling match. You had two or one grappling match. I think it was one, right? Against Deontay Leon, right?
Yeah, with Dante. I think, since the injury, just one. That was my debut match, or my comeback match, sorry, yeah.
And
got to shake the cobwebs a little bit.
Yeah, and then you talk to me about that match, because I always find it fascinating when you go from different rule sets, right? Like at CGI, it was scored 10-9. In one championship, it's scored by catches, right?
Totally.
It's sometimes I always laugh when I'm watching when you guys grapple in one championship, because if I jump on your you know, your leg and I try to do toe hold and they say catch, I know goddamn well you ain't gonna tap. Right, it don't hurt you, and for me, it's always unique. It's like, let's say we're grappling, you pass my guard, you knee ride, you mount me, you get my back, and then I get out and I grab a heel hook, and you're like, and then the ref's like catch, and it's like, oh, I'm winning. How do you change the dynamic of the rule sets in your mind? Like, how do you? One, I don't fucking like it, but how do you prepare for something like that?
Yeah, you know, you have to be very dominant, and I don't think of it as I don't try to have as much strategy, honestly. As weird as it sounds, I try just to make sure that the match isn't close. You know, I just try to dominate as much as I can. You know, I feel like when you try to hold strategy in those matches, and you got 10 minutes to work, right, with one. So you got 10 minutes, you know, and if you're trying just to get a couple catches, you get a catch, someone else slaps on a shitty ankle lock, gets a catch back. It's
a shitty ankle lock.
You know, for my brother and I, with 10 minutes, we just try to just destroy our opponent the best we can, you know, and just go forward, smash, you know, and whether it's submissions or positionally. Usually positions come before the submissions, but if you see them, then we dive on them, right? So that's our game plan, is just to go, you know, everyone knows it. It's not like we try to hide it. It's just, we got 10 minutes to try to sub our guy, and yeah, that's the plan. Yeah.
Now, when you beat him, and now before we jump into the mixed martial arts debut, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the scene of jiu-jitsu, right? You know, you have UFC BJJ, you have one championship, you have ADXC, you still have BJJ Stars, you have IBJJF, you have all these different ones. And, you know, I talked to Mikey about it. Where do you stand, you know, because you've been doing jiu-jitsu forever, right? At the gi level, at the highest level, ADCC. Where do you stand on exclusivity? Do you think an athlete should be able to go compete everywhere, right? Obviously, you're the champion in one championship, and you know you did compete for CGI. You're not going to compete for CGI 2. You're not going to compete at UFC BJJ, so you can't go everywhere you want. You can't go do BJJ Stars. How do you feel about that? Because obviously, you've been in the game forever. Yeah. You're now starting to make good money with one championship. But prior to one championship, it wasn't like you were rolling in the dough. I mean, your biggest fucking paycheck came from CGI because your brother gave you the $500,000. So where do you stand on, like, do you think they should have exclusivity, or do you think it should be like, hey, it should be a no man's world. You go wherever you want, compete, do what you want?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough situation. Like, of course, you don't want your champion going to another organization and then losing to another champion, right?
Yep.
It looks bad for your platform. But also at the same time, you want to be able to, allow your fighter to put himself in as many opportunities and to, represent himself and the brand to the best ability. For how my brother and I, we tried to do it so that we could do ADCC and so that we could do CJI. Those were like non-negotiables for us. As long as we could do those events and then still, just commit to one championship, we were okay with that, and then so we were okay with not doing the Who's Number Ones and all the other platforms, just because I understand the risk of going to all these different platforms and running super fights. You're running the risk to lose, and then it kind of looks bad on your organization, right? So
Gotcha.
yeah, it's kind of a tough one. But.
And you're focusing more on the organization instead of the athlete, where a lot of people, you have Mikey, where Mikey's like, it's good because you have the drug testing and, you can either do the exclusivity or you don't have to, right? Everybody has options, but there's a lot of people out there who feel the exclusivity makes it more of a monopoly, right? Where it's like, everybody wants to go fight. Where I think it's like, dude, it's at the end of the day, it's a stable paycheck, You do have the guys who are like, no, I want to go everywhere. Like, I want to go here, compete. I call them like the journeyman, like Ryu. Ryu's always searching for that next battle. Or they're like, you know what, I want to stay here. They're going to have X, Y, and Z. I'm guaranteed a check, and I can do it. And so is it protecting the organization or is it protecting the athlete? Like, who benefits from the exclusivity and non-exclusive contracts?
I guess like every situation's pretty different, right? For my brother and I, we really appreciate the contract that we're in, for sure with one, and
look at the camera. Don't look at the laptop.
Yeah, you hammer. Thank you. I'm so over with the big old double chin. Look
at the camera.
But yeah, Kade and I, we really appreciate our contract we're in with one, and just the ability to kind of go and win $1 million with CJI if we want to, or test ourselves against other competition that we wouldn't normally get to at ADCC, but still have our home base at one is a really good spot for us, at least where we're at in our careers. Maybe someone that's a little bit further down their career and wants to kind of settle a little bit more, just settling in with a private with a contract that is exclusive, probably a little bit better for them, right? So they don't have to, be searching and just more comfortable.
Yep.
But as for us, we're young and we got fight in us, so we're ready to, take the side quest, but also represent one. So, we're stoked where we're at.
Fucking side quest. I love that.
Yeah.
Whoever came with the side quest meme, I love that. For all the professional athletes,
good, right?
you got
I love that.
Luke Rocco's about to go on a fucking side quest, and I love that.
I haven't seen that stuff, but yeah, what's he got going on these days? He got something crazy?
I think he's supposed to be boxing Darren Till. I always laugh because I'm like, it's like, I gotta understand you guys, right? You guys started in gi, now you're in Nogi. You guys do more Nogi than gi. And then now you're going to be making your pro MMA debut. And I always laugh because I think Luke Rockhold, his best weapon is his kicks. He has probably one of the best kicks in mixed martial arts. Now he's just going to go to boxing. I'm like, damn it, you're taking away your greatest asset, right? And it makes the game a lot harder, right? Because he has to deal with, Darren Till's kicks or their punches. But I always love seeing when an athlete, can use all of his tools. So he's on a side quest. He's about to box in Misfits Boxing. And then, you're about to make your pro MMA debut. What's brought this upon? Right? I know your brother, he's been doing it. And why are you making the journey into pro MMA? Because I was sitting here thinking about it and I was like, I wonder if this is the evolution of journey of a jiu-jitsu guy, right? Someone who's done jiu-jitsu their whole entire life. You climb the top of it. The money is only so good at a certain point, right? You become a champion. But in MMA, it's like the fruit is endless, right? Like you become more champion, you get more sponsorships. I feel like the doors are a lot more open in mixed martial arts than it is in BJJ. So why are you doing, pro MMA now?
Why? No, that's such a good question, like Kade and I doing jiu-jitsu our whole lives, we always had so much love for MMA. We'd always watch the UFC fights growing up and, we'd always have our our favorites. And, And we always knew that, oh, we'd want to do that one day. But always our grandpa, he'd always tell us, no way, you guys aren't fighting MMA. However much they're going to pay you, I'll pay you double to not do it, you know? So, yeah. You never want us to scrap, you know? But so we're always just doing jiu-jitsu, and we always thought that it was going to take a long time to start making that transition to MMA. You know, just later in our lives, more like 25, you know, closer to 30, after a lot of our jiu-jitsu accolades were kind of where we wanted them. But I guess the jiu-jitsu stuff kind of happened sooner than we thought, you know, with a lot of the titles and stuff, and just kind of getting to where we wanted to be. And so I guess it was just kind of ready. And like you're saying, I think that's just kind of the evolution of a jiu-jitsu. You've seen it a lot over the years. You see my professor, even Andre Galvão, you got Rodolfo Vieira, you know, like countless, even goes back to freaking Hickson, so many, you know, guys made in that transition. You know, I think it's just, you know, jiu-jitsu, you can't help but to wonder in a fight, like when you've done so much of it your whole life, you're like, how would I do in a fight, you know? And so, you know, it's kind of like you get an opportunity to test it in MMA, you know? So I think for sure for a lot of guys, you know, not everyone's in jiu-jitsu, you know, for that reason. Some people are just there to have fun and learn, but, you know, for someone who takes it seriously and likes combat sports, then, you know, it's something you got to check off the bucket list for sure, you know? So I'm ready to start.
I love that. Yeah, because I was sitting at the gym and I was lifting weights and I was like, you know what? You look at Bibiano Fernandez, you look at, you know, what's the gentleman's name? Damian Maia, all these guys who come from a jiu-jitsu background in Nogi, and then they finally make that transition into mixed martial arts. I mean, even Jacare, right? Another guy who did jiu-jitsu his whole entire life, transitioned into mixed martial arts and starts making money. He builds a bigger name outside of jiu-jitsu. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is just the evolution. You know, potentially we can see Galvão do it. Mika do it.
Yeah, he signed some sort of contract for. So I almost want to say it was like Shuto or something in Brazil. But some sort of combat. Yeah, so I've seen he's got some interest in it for sure. I was trying to get that to be my debut for one. I was sick of that bit.
You know what? It's funny because you guys are both grapplers, right? And then obviously you've done more mixed martial arts training because of Kade, because he's in it.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much MMA training Mika's done. I know he's done a little bit with Bibiano when he came up to Canada, but I don't know how much he does it on a daily basis because you're at Tenore.
Totally.
I've seen TJ's been there. I know Mikey was just there. You guys have a lot of guys coming through Tenore that do it. Shit, my black ass was there. So I feel you guys have more MMA training than Mika was, but that would be a dope, you know, MMA debut because you guys are both grapplers, right?
That would be interesting, right? I thought it would be so cool. I know. I seen right around the time I was thinking of doing that, you signed that contract with I can't remember who it was. I want to say Shuto or something like that in Brazil.
Look at the camera. Look at the camera. Not the guy.
Sir. I can't help. Keep looking back at the. I'm gonna tell DJ, bro.
Tell the producer to turn the camera, turn the laptop away from you so you can't look at it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Here, boom. I'll go like this.
There we go. God bless you. I good job, Tye. Good job. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I think that'd be a dope debut. But you know what? You got a better debut fighting somebody, Adrian Lee, somebody who comes from a family of fighting, right? I believe Adrian Lee is undefeated. He's very young. Obviously, he has more MMA experience than you do, but you have way more grappling experience than he does, right? I always tell everybody, grappling is king when it comes to mixed martial arts because every fight, there should be a car crash. Once that car crash happens, the judo, the jiu-jitsu, the grappling, the wrestling comes into play, right? Yep. Talk to me about this fight going against a young phenom like Adrian Lee.
Yeah, 100%. And he's, like you said, he comes from a fighting family. He's a phenom. You know, he looked really good in his first couple performances for one. He's big kid, super fast. You know, he's pretty well-rounded from what I've seen. And it looks like it's going to be a scrap. You know, for my first match, I really wanted someone that wasn't just going to be like a taxi cab driver. You know, I kind of wanted a pretty formidable opponent, you know? And I'm super stoked I got that in Adrian, you know? I know his brother Christian is holding the belt for the division, and I'm sure he has some tough rounds with Christian, you know, pretty consistently. So that's where we're looking to be, is take out, you know, the champ, and, you know, to start with the the little bro is where we're gonna have to be. So is what we're gonna have to do.
Damn.
When I say we, it's me and my bro.
Damn. So you gonna try to beat up the fam? You gonna beat up the little brother first, and then you're gonna try to beat the big brother, huh? That's what you gonna do?
Dude, you know what? It's nothing personal. I don't know. One lines us up with a bunch of Hawaiians too. Always, you know, with Kade and Blake Cooper with the debuts. We love Hawaiians. You know, it's nothing personal. But yeah, it's just they're just in our division. You know, so that's yeah, that's definitely going to be some of the names on the top of our list for sure.
What division? So you're fighting at 170, correct?
Yeah, that'll be for lightweight, 170.
170.
Yes,
can you make lighter? Could you go lighter, you think?
For one, probably not.
No, yeah, but I mean, just in general, like when you competed in jiu-jitsu, what weight class did you do it? Because in jiu-jitsu, it's different. You show up and you have to, you weigh in and then you go directly into the match. So what weight class would you fight if you could cut weight?
Oh, you know, I'm not very big. I walk maybe 175.
Okay.
So I could cut down to, 55 if I needed to. Day before weigh-ins, you know, 45, I'd be so unhappy. But
dude, you'd be fucking shredded because I mean, right now you're pretty lean, so it's not like you have a lot on you already. So if you made 155, god damn, them long ass arms locking up that Darce choke.
I gave myself such a gnarly eating disorder last time I did that. I don't know. I got so fat so quick. I was like, I can't ever do that again. So I don't know. I don't really want to, but if I got to, I will. Yeah. For the right opportunity. Yeah.
Now is Kade? Now you and Kade are in the same division then?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Both you guys
We've always been it's twins.
I
twin brothers,
mean, it makes sense, you know, but I always feel like, hey, you're gonna go down, I'm gonna go up, or you guys don't want to do that. You guys want to keep your body as, you know, consistent as possible, right? When you start making that cut from, you know, 175 to 145, excuse me, 140, not 145, 155, you start to blow up, and then one of them is like, okay, I'm gonna stay down a little lower. So you guys are both in the division. If you guys had to fight each other in MMA, would you do it?
No, we wouldn't. We do it in jiu-jitsu, but MMA is too. I mean, I say that, but there's been a couple instances where it didn't seem like Kade was thinking twice about sending an elbow at the face. I was like, fuck, man, we should do this. But no, I don't think we can sanction an MMA match. You know, it's just hard to want to hurt your brother. Yeah. You know, it's hard. You know, jiu-jitsu is one thing, you know, because he's got a chance to tap. You know, but MMA is tough. Yeah, you can't. You know,
and that when
not gonna do it.
When you make your pro debut, are you gonna be going back and forth like because your brother, he's been doing more MMA. He hasn't done any jiu-jitsu lately. Are you gonna be going back and forth from MMA to jiu-jitsu, or you're like, you know what, I'm done with jiu-jitsu? Because I know I talked to you and you said, you know, you have no interest doing CJI this year, right? You're just gonna focus on MMA. Is jiu-jitsu done, or are we gonna see you just, you know, focus on MMA?
No, I still love jiu-jitsu, and I want to hold my belt for sure and defend my belt in jiu-jitsu. But definitely going to be focused on MMA over the next year for sure. But I'm still holding jiu-jitsu close to my heart, and I want to compete, you know, at least a couple times a year. You know, as much as my body allows me. But yeah, maybe like for some big opportunities, some big super fights, then I'll definitely be excited to, you know, scrap in some jiu-jitsu matches. But yeah, MMA is taking the wheel right now. Okay,
and I want to talk to you about IBJJF. Talk about the gi, right? Nobody wants to do gi anymore, right? You guys are all out there half-assed naked, just grabbing each other's ankles, right? You've won everything in the gi besides Worlds, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, a lot. It's been a while. Yeah.
How old are you?
You're 22 now.
22. So you got 8 years to get the Worlds. Do you think you're gonna come back in the gi, try win Worlds before you go to the Masters, or you're like, you know what, I've done enough in jiu-jitsu and the gi, I don't need to go back in to get the Worlds? Or is there something inside of you like, you know what, you know, I need that world title at a black belt level?
You know what, 100%. You know, like technically I had gotten one because Mika failed the dope test in the finals. But it didn't feel like a real, you know, it wasn't a gold medal, you know. Like technically they gave me the title, but it didn't feel like a gold medal, you know. So for sure I feel like I need to get a proper title, you know. So I need to go and I got to win it, you know. I got to win the finals and yeah.
Hey, what the hell? I don't know about this. So explain this to me. So you and Micael competed in IBJJF. What year is this?
This was 2012. 22? No, yeah, 22, I believe.
2022. It's the world's. Yeah. It's the world championship in Nogi. You guys compete. He beats you, and then later on he pops for failed drug test. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Yeah, so you want the full story? It's pretty classic, dude. Like first time we ever scrapped Mika, I was about 15, 14 years old. I think it was a green belt, and I Kimura'd him in the gi. And then about 2 years later, we fought at the Europeans in the gi. He was about like 20 pounds heavier, but he didn't seem that big. So I was like, I was still pretty confident. Like, okay, I'm gonna get him. So I was like, okay, it's gonna be a scrap for sure. And then we go in, and I remember he tried to go for an arm drag. So I was holding my arm to my hip like this, and then with one arm he grabs my sleeve and just pulls it across. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, fuck. I was like, oh, so he almost takes my back, and then throws in like one of those arm bars, like kind of like the little kid arm bar where they grab the wrist and then throw the leg over, like we were pretty much in leg drag right on top, like sitting like almost coming around the corner for side control. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm about to kind of like pass right here. And then he's like pulling my arm deeper from like the side control. And I'm like, well, how is this happening? So I had to roll out of that one. And then, did like 3 different times. Oh, the gnarliest one was, like closed guard. And then you step over your opponent. So you're kind of like scorpioning him.
Yep.
From close. Yeah. So from there, he like curls himself back under and then brings me back to close guard from the scorpion. And that's when I was like, oh my God. Like I realized like whatever techniques I was doing, it just wasn't working.
Yep.
It just didn't matter. I was like, holy cow. So I was like, wow, this is like I think that time he beat me like 12-2. Like I defended everything. And I didn't get subbed, but I just never felt strength like that before in my whole life. Like even training at Atos, had some gnarly strong guys in there for sure. But I was just like, I just never felt, strength like that. So then a couple years later, we scrapped Nogi. It was a little bit different without the gi. It's easier. Yep. Strength doesn't translate as much. Yeah, and I got him there. So then the last match was the finals in the Worlds, and yeah, same story. Like I knew he was my whole life fighting Mika. I always knew that he's been using substances and that he was stronger, like twice as strong as the next person. Like it just didn't make sense. And I even remember my teammates, like black belts who I knew were just really, really strong. I'd be like, they'd go fight Mika, and they'd get choked or whatever. And I was like, how was it? They're like, dude, I can't believe how strong he is. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, and you're pretty freaking strong, bro. Like we both know how gnarly you are, Yeah. So it was just like a gnarly thing like that. So after he got caught, I remember, or after we fought and then he got caught, I hadn't been released yet. I was in Costa Rica, and I was like a little bit disheartened on the gi. I was just like, man, this shit. I was like, it just sucks because it's just. The strength is like, I felt like my jiu-jitsu wasn't that, like it was better. If anything, it's just, it's so hard to compete with that strength,
Yeah.
And I did better the last time we fought. I had a little bit more strength to me with my adult strength, I wasn't 15, but yeah, it was just, it was disheartening kind of. But then he got popped, so then I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's bittersweet,
Well, it's always fascinating because there's some guys out there who think it's okay. Well, I don't want to say this, but I feel the culture, and I could be wrong for saying this, but I feel like the culture, it's okay to do steroids in jiu-jitsu. Right? Like people are saying, oh, it's okay to do it because there's no money in it to begin with. Everybody's doing it. You have a guy like Mikey who was like, dude, like you don't need to do steroids, do away with it. And you're setting a bad example for the children. I feel like it's such a hard thing because I feel, depending on what your upbringing is, like, dude, I need to make it out. I need to make it out of the hood. This is the only way I can do it. I want to be the best version of I just should say the best version of yourself. I'm using words that I think Gordon Ryan said. Yeah. I never forget. He said like people want to see, an action figure, right? Like shredded abs, big chest, big traps. The only way you can get there is not necessarily doing steroids, but I felt like when I read that, he alluded to that essentially, right? And when I read that, I was like, dude, I'm fucking 38. I've been an athlete my whole entire life, and I'm fucking shredded, and I never done steroids, Have I gone against guys, and they grab me, and I'm like, holy, like, I feel a different strength. I'm like, oh my God, this is, wow, what's going on here? Do you think there will ever come a point in time where steroids will ever be out of jiu-jitsu?
Not in the next century.
Yeah.
Not anytime soon.
That took a long time, my friend.
Yeah, not in the anytime soon, unfortunately. I think like what you were saying, as far as it's just very socially acceptable, in Brazil. It's kind of like alcohol is in the States, like nobody really cares. Everyone's, it's just, it's very socially accepted over there, and I think like, and you're right, they're coming from such tough conditions, it's kind of like, I can't like sit here and be like, it's just tough for me because it's like, I always had the support that I needed and I had a beautiful upbringing. I'm blessed with my parents and the people around me, and over here at Tenore since 10 years old, like I've had everything I needed, to be able to succeed. I've been beyond blessed with it, So, I can it's for someone to be in such a tough situation and, protein costs $60, but the steroid that works 10 times better is half the price. Like, what are you gonna, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of makes, so.
Why do you think it's socially accepted? Right? Like that's, when I look at alcohol, I don't drink alcohol anymore and it's socially accepted. It's destroying your body. Right. I look at it as poison. So why do you think it's socially accepted in jiu-jitsu?
That's a good question. Obviously jiu-jitsu has a big influence from Brazil. It's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right? And, in Brazil, you can go into the pharmacy or you can go into the even nutrition store or whatever, and you can walk out with a bunch of steroids, and it's just the way that it is, it's the way it's set up. And so I don't know if that has a big part to do with it, because in jiu-jitsu, people want to train more, they want to recover faster. So it might have just been, in the early days of training, go into the pharmacy, take this shot, train twice as hard, right? And then so maybe that's why there's such a big influence into the culture, because quite frankly, there's a big Brazilian, it comes from, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so that's probably where I see it, but obviously just the reason being is because it just works so good. Like you see the guys training twice as hard, you can train twice as hard, and twice as much, so it's like, you get guys like Gordon Ryan, you're like, why wouldn't I, just like, I can be the best version of myself. But then also you're like, but then there's also a handful of people who are struggling, working, or just swimming up current, doing it naturally, that you're scrapping against these roided guys. So kind of just, it's tough. It'd almost be worth it just to have two different organizations, one clean, one not, right?
Yeah, I agree. I always alluded back to when I play Street Fighter 6. I know you guys don't game, but in Street Fighter 6, you have the classic mode where I have to input every single button in order to throw a Hadouken. I go, boom, Hadouken. I have to do that. Then they made a new mode called Modern. In the Modern mode, you have to do less the work to do a badass combo.
A sick move.
But they want to cater to the newer audience, because the newer audience doesn't want to go back and put in the hard work to learn how to do, like do actual combinations, because, back in the 90s and early 2000s, maybe even in, 2010, everybody was learning how to play with classic controls. We have 3 punches, 3 kicks, and you have a joystick. Now, people don't want to do that. They say it's way too hard. And that's when I kind of, made that reference. I was like, when you're playing ranked matches, have a set of ranked matches where it's like, hey, these are all the people who are playing classic mode. Okay. You're playing classic. If you want to do less the fucking work, you're going to play against people who want to do less the fucking work. So I agree with that. It's just like the Olympics now. Like
I could only imagine how frustrating that is for your generation, because you guys are sitting there figuring out and then you're seeing these kids punching in 2 buttons and they're just doing this move. I could only imagine.
Dude,
that's too funny,
it pisses me off like no other.
Because I'm one of those modern kids. I feel bad, I go on Street Fighter. I want the easy freak. Okay, how do I do it?
But you can play in your own league, which is nothing like
right. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, it's where you belong.
It's where you belong. That's what you want to do. So that's how I feel. When I look at this, it's like, hey, you should have a league where it's like, hey, dude, we're all fucking clean. We're not, you can take, whatever you want to have not on the list, right? Like, let's say, I want to take peptides, I want to take this, but you can't take, steroids. Okay, this is the list you can take. On this, you can take whatever the fuck you want. You could take, gear, steroids, HGH, you take whatever you want. But I think when you get to that point, there's not enough money going around already in jiu-jitsu. So who's going to oversee all the drug testing? And then, you know, so that's why I think the problem is. But when you said it's socially accepted, I sat there and I'm like, wow, that is a good way to put it. It's socially accepted that if somebody was like on the juice and they're just grappling with people who aren't on it, it's like, hey, get good. Get some juice, bruh. Like, what are you doing?
Get some juice, or you're gonna have to get a lot better. Yeah, one of the two.
But even
it's really.
But even then, if you have the strength that somebody grabs your collar, you're not fucking, like we were talking before we got on camera. Yeah. There's sometimes you can't break that grip. Right? You're like, I just can't, you're not going to be able to break that grip, which is an isometric hold. You're like this, you're holding the whole damn time. Yeah. You can't break it. It's like, well, don't know how I'm going to get out of this, but we'll figure it out one day, hopefully.
Exactly. You're like, like if I can't break this grip, then I have to spin my head around. Or if I can't break this grip, then I'm going to have to pull his thumb off. So that way the grip's not really, you know, he's always got his fingers grabbing. Like there's little details that you have to find along the way when you're fighting with such strength discrepancies. I think that's kind of what led to my brother and I's style too, just being very flowy. It's because, you know, you hit these walls and you got to freaking find a way around, you know, and it's just constantly, you know, when the bigger strength discrepancy, you know, the more alternatives and solutions you're going to have to find. You know? So there's a blessing with that too, for sure.
Now at Tenore, what you guys got over there, man? I know I've been there before, but what's the whole, I don't want to say deal, but what's the whole culture at Tenore? Because is it a mixed martial arts gym? Is it a jiu-jitsu gym? You know, I know they got the clothing brand. What is Tenore doing in California right now?
Yeah, you know, thanks for asking. It's a sick operation, you know, I'll put it that way. You know, there's a lot going on over here. We got the gym full time and we always got, you know, pro fighters coming through and getting good work. Pat always just makes it super easy for us. Kind of just makes it like a little oasis for fighters, you know. We got a lot of recovery stuff over down the street with all the hyperbaric and all the next level recovery tools. And we got great coaches. We got Tyler Wombles in here pretty much full time. And yeah, it's just like a little oasis for fighting, you know. And there's also the Tenore brand, which is, you know, Pat's been in the industry for decades, you know, just doing his thing. He had the Ruka brand before, and now he's doing the Tenore. But yeah, he's always just on to something new and creating this epic environments for people, whether they're artists or musicians or you know, fighters, you know, surfers, anything.
I saw when you said you have other fighters going there too. I saw Mikey was there. How was that experience? I know we didn't get Mikey versus Kade in one championship, but did we get Mikey versus Kade and Mikey versus Tye there?
Well, yeah, I was rolling with Mikey the other day. Yeah, dude, Mikey's the man. It's so fun. Yeah, I wish we should have honestly streamed that for whoever was interested in seeing it, because that match fell out. I was bummed on that, but yeah, Mikey's always good to have around, dude. He's so classic. I love that guy. He's good fun.
How was it grappling him, right? Obviously, you guys are, you know, I grappled you, I grappled Mikey, and he was a motherfucker, right? How many times he went after my leg over and over, and how strong he is, and how he's able to, you know, we had him on the MIGHTYCAST, and he says, dude, I just love attacking the legs. I'm like, he will come up, you know, he will sweep you, he will come up, about to pass your guard, and he goes back for your legs. I'm like, Mikey, stop going after legs. Stop. Like, you're really having your jiu-jitsu game on the ground. Like, you're not doing it.
Yeah, he loves it.
How was it when you guys are going? Because I know you defend leg locks all the time. You and your brother always heel hooking each other, toe holds, all that stuff. So how is it going against Mikey with somebody who specializes in that, where you're like, I'm not going to allow that to happen? And obviously, you're bigger than Mikey. So how was that grappling session with him?
Yeah, no, I was totally interested in seeing that too. Like you said, he's so sticky, right? And he's so good with the legs. And that's pretty much where Kade and I specialize, you know, like that's the best part of our game is our leg lock defense, you know? So anyway, we kept it really mellow. It wasn't like we were trying to kill each other or anything. It was pretty, but he was definitely trying to get on my legs over and over and over again. But yeah, he wasn't getting too close to the heel, you know, but he's getting on the leg over and over. And I was kind of just cruising on top and finding my way out the different leg entanglements. I feel Kade and I, you know, I haven't been put in a heel hook that has submitted me since when? It's been a really, really long time. The last time in competition, at least, that I was even got my heel grabbed was 2019 for sure.
Oh, damn.
You know, and then I escaped that one. So it's been, this heel hooks is my best. Like, yeah, you could line up 100 guys. You could put Gordon, Craig, you know, back to back to back and start us in 50, wherever, you know, and I'm pretty confident I won't ever get heel hooked. You know, it's the one thing.
Is that just from time being in a heel hook, or do you think genetically your tendons are just more elastic? Meaning, like,
No, I wish.
Really? Okay. Because
Yeah,
I feel like my knees are so tight from being, because I was trying to elongate my, I don't know how to say this. Basically, I had very tight knees. I wasn't very flexible. And then when I went to the physical therapist, she was like, you're an explosive athlete. Like, you have fast twitch muscle fibers. Like, you played football, you ran track, you know, you've ran cross country, you've wrestled. So, you know, when I played football, I was a running back. When I did track, you know, I would do long distance, 1600 and 3200, but every once in a while I'll do like long jump, triple jump. I would just be an explosive athlete. So she was like, I think over the years, and then in mixed martial arts, it's an explosive sport. You're trying to be explosive. So it's like you developed a body where you have explosive tendons. So your tendons are super, super tight. So each time, you know, I get in an awkward position, she was like, you don't have the elasticity in your tendons, where some people who's grappled the whole entire life, their bodies, I've seen you and your brother grapple. I've seen you guys do shit where I'm like, I think I just blew my back out when I see you guys could twerk. And so do you feel, with you grappling for so long, I feel like you're so comfortable in a heel hook. Obviously you know how to defend it, but I think you have more give than I would in my ligaments than you would. Would you say that's fair?
You know what, I would say in some specific ways for sure. You know, yeah, I don't know if you know who that AJ Agazarm is.
No.
But yeah, in jiu-jitsu, he's kind of always known as the guy that would fight out of anything, and he would never tap, you know, and it's just through, and I always ask him, like, bro, how you getting out of these arm bars, you know? He goes, it'd be a little sore, you know, but
it's sore.
But it's good.
It's sore when we got
it's
out.
a little sore. Yeah, like, it's fine. Yeah, over the years, you kind of build some, you know, resilience, and yeah, I guess I have a little bit of that for sure, but I wouldn't say it's any more than the next guys, you know, like it's nothing like a Micael or like even Mikey. Like, they got some pretty rubber ankles, you know, like they're pretty next level with their joints.
When you're talking about like the joints and people who are flexible, Micael is one of those guys where I've been watching him on, Instagram when he's doing all the competition IBGF, and he will be in some deep, and I mean deep knee bars, heel hooks and toe holds. And he's just going about it like it's nothing. I'm just like, how is he able to do that? And I truly feel there has to be something to do with, you know, Mikey says, oh, just turn your knee off. I'm like, Mikey, I didn't know there was an on-off switch on my fucking knee. Last time I checked, it just works the way it's supposed to.
Knee.
Right? It's a knee. There's not like something like, oh, it's going to do this. So I always find it fascinating. I was like, I just feel like you guys just might be able to, you know, have more lactic acid in it. Not lactic acid, but just elasticity in your knees.
No, but it's interesting that you say like that on and off switch, you know, because when I was fighting Paulo Micael, this was 2019, put him in a knee bar, and it was really tight. It was locked in, like perfect. And belly down, you know, which is a nasty sub, you know. And so I'm going. It was the first time in my life, like, I felt multiple ligaments. Like, I just couldn't believe that he was just sitting there taking it, you know. I couldn't believe it. Anyways, and then looking back, I look at the photos, and his face is just like stoic, like straight. Like, he's just
another day
he's
in
not
office.
in any pain.
Another day in office.
Like the two lateral ligaments, like the biggest ligaments right here on your knee, completely severed, you know, like completely in half. And he just, not even a little squeak, not a reaction whatsoever. And I'm like, well, I guess like, but like, it's almost like, yeah, they just turn it off, I guess, and just disconnect from it. You know, it's like the weirdest thing.
We gotta,
I don't know how.
We gotta find that
I don't have that.
We gotta find that breaker box in the body. Just flip that breaker, turn that shit off, and then once he's done turning everything, you turn it back on, and everything's still good to go. Your knee, ACL, MCL, PCL, LCL is all still attached to each other.
Brand new.
Fucking crazy.
I wish, man.
Okay, so before I let you go, I want to ask you one question. It's going to be a very interesting question. What would you change in the landscape of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gi and no gi? Right? Like, I would like to see more gi be more mainstream. obviously there's a lot more complex problems you have to solve, and people who don't, like for me, I like watching gi more than Nogi. When I watch Nogi, it's a fucking, you see guys who are just pure wrestlers who's come in there and just fuck people up, right? You give them the gi and that's not happening. It's like, nope, you got to have some type of form of curriculum. And I was thinking about it, it's like, you could take a boxer, you can't take a boxer and put him in Muay Thai because he won't be able to survive. Because yes, he can be good on the hands. He might be able to play a little bit, but once that knee lands, once that leg kick lands, it's game over. You have to have some type of knowledge in Muay Thai in order to compete if you're a boxer. And what I'm getting at 100%. Is that you could take a high-level wrestler, put him in a Nogi situation, and just fucking ragdoll him like over and over and over because there's no grips, there's no lapel, you can't lock him down. Where if you take a high-level wrestler and put him in a gi against, blue belt, black belt, or whatever, I lock down, fucking Deli Hiva, and I have the sleeve. I do Deli Hiva and spider guard. It's like, you're not going anywhere. Like, I just locked you down unless you know how to, move the hand and put your shoulder in place to do all that stuff. So for me, I would like to see the gi become more mainstream, maybe one day even be bigger than Nogi. Right. If you could change, what would you want to see change, I guess you say, in the next 10 years in the culture of jiu-jitsu? Was it more money? Is it more organizations for people to go compete at? What would you like to change or see different, I guess you could say? What would you like to see different in 10 years in jiu-jitsu?
Like you would think more money would help, but I think people would just fight even worse and safer, right, for more money. So what I'm thinking is either adding rounds in a match, right? Now, it sounds weird, but kind of almost how wrestling is based, where it breaks up the action a little bit. I think where a lot of these matches get boring is where one person tries the same thing that they know is not working over and over again for 10 minutes, and that's when there's not much jiu-jitsu happening. There's one interaction happening for 10 minutes, and then no one really wants to watch that. You see the matches where people are scrambling or they're playing top and then they're playing bottom and there's scrambles and there's action. Then, maybe one top, one bottom, one standing, and then if you pull a guard, you get, or even, which would be good, is just making it a penalizing guard pulling, quite frankly, and I know you can't just say that, I don't want to penalize the guard pullers, because you can't just make it about wrestling. But at the end of the day, jiu-jitsu was meant, as self-defense, it's meant as like, it's a combat sport, right? It's meant to protect yourself. And pulling closed guard on the streets, not an ideal way to start a fight.
Whoa, hold the fuck up, dog. Hold the fuck up, okay? I'm not gonna lie. If I'm fighting somebody, okay, let's do MMA, right? Let's just talk about MMA. We're going to vibe out with this, okay? Because I have mixed feelings about this too. And I like what you said, adding rounds. I think in IBJJF, you add rounds to the fight. Instead of, I'm Masters 2, Masters 2, and you go out there and, I have my last match, guy pulls guard, I'm trying to pass his fucking guard, he sweeps me, he gets 2, he pulls guard again, and next I'm trying to pass his fucking guard, the round's over, and it's all, well, that's it. I think if they did 3-minute rounds, that'd be fucking dope, where it's like, okay, you get the first round, okay, 1 minute break, but then the tournaments would be a lot longer, or do 2 rounds, where it's like, okay, 3-3. If you pull guard, if you pull guards, he has an attachment. I just need to get better about passing guard or breaking grips. But I like that. Add more rounds to it, right? Because essentially you don't get to see a fight. It's more of a strategic game plan. But I will say this, when I've done mixed martial arts and I'm the shorter guy and I need to get to somebody, or they're just being so chaotic on the feet and you don't want to take a shot, sometimes I'll pull guard in MMA just to get that connection with them. Because when I pull guard, they close that void. Now I have the leg locks and then I start taking their balance, and then I'm able to come up, wrestle up knee. I basically close that void when I pull guard. So for me, if I was in a street fight and a motherfucker's trying to test me, he might be longer or bigger than me. I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and pull guard in this motherfucker to see if he's going to come down. And you see now, they always say, if you see somebody pull guard in a street fight, they're like, don't fuck with him because he knows how to wrestle, right? But go ahead, continue on your point about, penalizing guard pulling and all that stuff.
No, it's just, I think penalizing guard pulling could just make it more exciting in the sense where I think a lot of where the matches get boring is when there's double guard pull, right? And they sit there and 50-50, and so it's just kind of like that repetitive thing, you know, or when they're in guard and they're trying the same maybe like K guard entry that the guy is shutting down and sees, but they're trying it for 10 minutes in a row. You know, like at what point do you have to get up and try something else? You know, or try to wrestle up or try this another road.
Well, I agree with you because I remember when I watched Kade versus Levi, and I told Sean, I was like, I thought Levi won. Now I thought Levi won the match, given the fact that it was jiu-jitsu, right? It wasn't about action, right? Looking at the rule sets of what jiu-jitsu is, right? In IBJJF, right? But that's not what CJI was, because when Levi would engage, I pull guard, boom. Now the rules are you have to pass or you have to submit, right? Kade could not pass his guard, right? Kade never went to his back to give Levi. I think there was like maybe a split second he did, and then Levi was about to pass, and then Kade got back up. I was like, oh, watch out now. And that's why I think it's so hard with jiu-jitsu, because you could take away half of somebody's game by pulling guard, right? It's like, now I have to either pass or submit. That's all I can do. I can't come up and wrestle up. I can't do this. Or I could pull guard, you come up, then it's vice versa. So I feel like jiu-jitsu is more of a strategic game instead of who's strong. Like, not want to say who's stronger, but when you start getting to the higher level, like you guys are at, especially, you know, in the gi, where there's a point system, you have 10 minutes or 5 minutes. It's truly like more of that's what I find out in my game. It's like, it's all about strategy. Ain't nobody gonna outwork me, I feel like, right? Of course. Maybe they fucking will, right? But in all my tournaments, I haven't had like a fucking banger where it's like, oh, back and forth. Actually, the guy I fight in the Japanese dude, the second guy I fought, he was pretty good back and forth, but it's, I lock you down, I get my sweep, oh, I'm on top, I'm gonna hold it, right? They're not looking for that finisher. So I can...
It makes sense that's why you're finding so much love with jiu-jitsu, because honestly, it's a trip even talking to you and seeing how much you know about the whole deal. You know?
Oh, dude, I love it. Like when I watch Nogi, I'm like, oh, he's going after his ankles. Up, there's that. And then like when I watch, I think when Gi IBJJF World, the World Championship was going on. Seeing Jensen Gomez, was Andy Murasaki going to get his first world title? He wasn't in the same division as Tynan. And then Baby Shark, that division. I can't remember who Baby Shark fought in the finals of that. He
was
fought
it Pato? He might have fought Pato.
Was it Pato? It was Pato. Pato got it again, Year of the Duck. And then you saw Jalen from Cabrina.
Fire.
He was fucking. It's like
that was crazy,
dude.
I grew up in the comp scene with Jalen. Like as kids, we were always going and and I'd see him, I'd know him. We were like, he was always smaller than us, but same age, So we're always, over the years, I'd see him like young, yellow belts, orange belts, green belts. He'd always do good, and so it's sick to finally see him get his first world title. It was dude. I was like, whoa, he's back. So I was like, sick.
Yeah, and then when it's like,
always good to see.
When that was on, it was like, what's the best way I could create it? It was almost like the World Championship, like people who love soccer who love soccer, it happens at the World Cup. It's every 4 years. That was like my version of the World Cup. Like every single match I wanted to watch to see how he's going to break this grip, how he's going to move. Like Jensen Gomez, he's one of my favorites to watch because he moves like a lightweight or featherweight, and he's always breaking grips. He's always being super fast.
Exciting.
I'm like, dude, of course he's going to be, when I see somebody who's moving like that in Nogi, I'm like, of course you can do that because you ain't got fucking grips. You ain't got to worry about that. Right. But if somebody could do it with grips and shit, and he's just breaking, popping, jumping around, I'm like, this is sick. This is fucking peak right here. So for me,
that's what the gi needs. Like that, we just need more Jansons. We need more guys who are willing to explore different positions and scramble and go through jiu-jitsu. Like in the gi, it's so easy for things to get so slow, and jiu-jitsu in general, like it can be so easy for things to get so locked down, or for someone just to try the same thing over and over, So for Jansen, he can do anything. He can play guard, he can wrestle, he can mix. He's good everywhere, So it's a,
Or
that was a sick match.
Yeah, his match was sick. Or even like Miram Mayram, like when he fought, I thought he was going to win Worlds, but he ended up losing to the gentleman who went. I don't know the gentleman's name. I know he's from
Bisnaga. Yeah, Bisnaga. Joao. Mendes. Joao Mendes.
That match was fucking sick. I just feel like I've done Nogi my whole life, essentially from MMA, and then now putting on the gi and just learning like, oh, I can't do this. I'm keeping my balance. He just took my balance because he has this part. And I know how hard it is. It's almost like I rather watch something that's extremely fucking hard. And as long as if you don't know what's going on, it's like, maybe you should educate yourself. But there's a lot of people out there. I just want gi to be fucking making a shit ton of money more than no gi, to be honest, because it's fucking harder.
It's harder. I hear you, bro. Yeah, dude, that's the only reason Canada ran from it. You know, we're just like, hey, there's no money and it's harder. It's like, hey, still it makes sense right now.
This is way harder, and there's no fucking money in it. If there was more money in the gi, would you be focusing more in gi?
For sure. It would definitely incentivize us to do it more, but also just like we were saying with it being harder than Nogi, just solely because of the whole steroid factor.
Well, let's say steroids weren't a factor, right? Let's say they had a division in the gi where it was like, hey, if you're doing jiu-jitsu and gi, you can't take anything. You can take your protein, collagen, creatine, all that stuff, but no drugs whatsoever. And you're gonna make, if you're world champion, you're gonna make, I don't know, $250,000 each time you match. I mean, these are all dreamful. I mean, there's MMA guys who don't even fucking come close to that.
Yeah, if that was the case, sign me up. No, I love the gi. I loved it. You know, just figuring out, it's gnarly. It's hard. There's so much to it. You know, there's so much to it. There's thousands of techniques and situations. You know, so
what do you think it would take to get gi to that point where Nogi is now?
Like we were saying, it's just we can't have one guy going in there trying the same thing for 10 minutes. That getting shut down, you know?
Yep.
I think rounds or there's got to be a way, like if, for example, even just going back to like that Levi match is a good example of it, even though it's not even gi, just jiu-jitsu in general though. Yeah. But just because with Levi, the one thing with Kade and I, like we were kind of just, the problem that we had with that whole situation is like at what point does the guy on bottom, is he inclined to kind of do some action too in a sense of wrestling up, or because he's with Levi, you know, even with my match with him in the first, he knew that I injured my knee like in the first minute. Yeah. So he was kind of like cruising. We were cruising. But it got to a point where like I realized he wasn't really doing much, you know? So I started like walking into him backwards, and I was trying to like get him to do really anything. So then he started to kind of climb up like with the bolo hooks and climb up on my back, and I was just letting him climb, and then as soon as I started to turn around, he pushes off. Yeah, and then goes back to you, and I'm like in a real fight, if you're climbing on someone's back, or just any jiu-jitsu, that, you know, they're gonna grab the body lock and try to take you down, let go, push, and go back to here with your gooch in the air. Then I'm like, at what point does, you know, are you gonna start you know, this is kind of tough.
Yeah, when does he start taking a risk? And I had a thing that could solve that. Let's say in like more rounds, and let's say, okay, boom, I decided to pull guard, right? 5 minutes, and you can't pass my guard. You just can't pass. I'm just that fucking good, right? I'm just on fire, right? Round ends. I come back and I say, Levi, you haven't wrestled up. You've stayed on your back the whole entire time. You weren't able to sweep. We were going to get a submission. So from now on, you cannot pull guard, right? Then you basically take that away from him. But then it kind of shits on his game because his guard is so good, you can't pass. Or it could be like, I remember, I think in UFC, it was like, hey, if you're going into the finals or a rounds, it's like, hey, you get to start with a submission. You see him like, hey, what submission you want to be started in? I'm going to start in an arm bar. And we start in an arm bar, and it's all right, 3, 2, 1, go. If I submit you, you lose. Or if you hang on to it, I lose. I remember back in the day, there was something like that. But
the eBay overtime, I think.
Overtime, right? Or it's like, hey, you can't pull guard. And then it forces that person, he has to stand and wrestle. But let's say Kade takes him down. He gets a boom, blast double leg. He's back on his back. Then the other one I would say is, okay, Kade, you have to be on your back. Now Levi gets a chance to pass your guard. He passes your guard, but
100%. And that's going to create some more action. Like when you seen when it flipped, there was action for a second. Like Levi tried to do the leg drag.
Yep.
Kade framed.
Yep.
And then what happened? Levi kind of like went on his butt a little bit, so then Kade just came up. You know.
Exactly.
But,
and that's where I feel like he came up. That's where I feel like even when I grapple with some people in the gi, they're so, and I'm learning it too. When I'm on the gi, sometimes you don't want to wrestle up because you don't have the sweep yet. You're like, I'm going to stay here. Then when I come up and I actually have the sweep, I come up, I sweep them. But then if I was to not, I grapple with people who don't wrestle up. I'm like, there's no point. Like you're not going to, I don't have to worry about it. Just keep staying back here. You're never going to wrestle up. So there's no action being created.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a tough one. I think like just being versatile is going to make you an exciting fighter, right? And if you can only do one thing, the odds of that being shut down, it's going to be pretty high, So it's good to stay versatile so you can create action from anywhere, But because at the end of the day, like you can want to elevate the sport or you can just care about winning, And winning to me isn't what's most important. It's putting on the best performances that I possibly can in jiu-jitsu. Winning for MMA, that's what's important, is winning. Until I figure it out. Well, I want to put on some good performances, but for jiu-jitsu, that's all I care about. Making the fans happy.
Well, I think in MMA you have so many more ways to win. Right, you can knock him out with the elbow, punch, knees, kicks, and then also you have your jiu-jitsu. You can suplex him up. Well, you can't suplex in one championship. You can't spike. So there's so many different ways to win in mixed martial arts there is in jiu-jitsu. You can actually truly try to hurt your opponent and basically put his lights out. In jiu-jitsu, you could slam somebody. I haven't seen somebody suplex anybody in jiu-jitsu and knock him out, but it's a lot harder. All right, before I let you go, what's been the hardest transition that you had to learn transition into mixed martial arts?
That was actually a question that I had for you too. It was the footwork's been tough for me. In jiu-jitsu, I never had to move my feet very much. Like I was okay with planting heavy, how everything starts with the feet and coming. A question I had for you is, what are some of your favorite ways to kind of improve footwork, And I've seen you're probably got to be the best at it.
Footwork is just a thing where it's like a dance. Like, how do you get good at dancing? By just dancing. Dancing to different rhythms, going southpaw to orthodox to southpaw, controlling the void, the distance, But I feel like for your guys' game, you want to close that distance, right? You want to get close because you can start using your grappling. You can start using, your jiu-jitsu, which is your strong point. Once you get 100%. Once you're able to get your, try not to get hit, then you get close, and then when they're trying to get away from you, then you try to hit them. So for me, it's just lots of footwork, lots of footwork drills. And like you said, being in jiu-jitsu, you're planting, you're being heavier where, and you've done that your whole life. I know you guys surf, and surfing is keeping your feet planted on the board.
Right.
But I think, running, sprinting, playing fast switch, playing basketball, playing football. Like I still run routes with my kids. That helps me go up, and da-da-da-da. Like just those quick feet. That helps me.
Totally.
But I would say that will probably be the hardest, obviously for you guys will get it. You guys are still young. But yeah, I would say lots of footwork drills. Anything that you can do that's not mixed martial arts, but that caters to quick feet. Like Dominic Cruz, I was talking to him. He said short feet, quick feet, not big feet, long feet. I can't remember what he said, but it was a very funny, it was a very unique thing. He said, he goes, people try to move a lot, but it's like just short feet, quick feet, just pop up, move your angles a certain different way. So that's the best advice I give to you, how to work better footwork.
Thank you. No, that's huge. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that close for sure. It's probably because we were just training so much jiu-jitsu. But we're gonna keep it up. Yeah.
It happens. I see people like I always tell, like, where I grew up at, they're like, okay, there's athletes and there's people who are athletic. Like if I was to throw you a basketball, how would you move with the basketball? Would you have some swag with it? If I was to throw you, football, would you be pop, 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 and hit the corner and catch a football, boom, and tuck it and run and switch? That we're like, hey, that person's athletic. He doesn't have to train his body. I was training the other day, and I said, I wouldn't do that. because you're doing that. And he goes, well, we're supposed to do that. And I was like, I wouldn't do that. My athleticism is telling me don't do that. That's wrong. That's wrong. And then the professor comes and goes, that's your athleticism coming in through the training instead of like, you know, people who aren't athletic. They're like, oh, I just have to do that. And you run into a fucking trap.
Yeah.
So
100%. That's classic. Is there anything that you encountered in your life that you just weren't great at? Sport-wise, that you just sucked at, or no? Probably not.
No, I think the only thing that was hard was just my height. Like when I played basketball, I was good at basketball. When I ran track, I was good. When I played football, I was good. The only thing that stopped me was just my size and height. But when it came to like doing this or swimming or anything, it was like, oh, that makes sense. Like I never forget, Matt and I was training, and Matt was showing something. And he goes, okay, how would you land this elbow? And I was like, oh, you just do this. And then Matt goes, you're athletic. You know how to get somewhere without being told to do a certain move. You
point A to B.
Exactly, right? And I was like, so that's why I think I excelled very well in mixed martial arts, because, you know, if I had to be a boxer, you know, I would be a good boxer, but he's also a good boxer. But in MMA, you can fight somebody who's a good boxer, but they suck ass at jiu-jitsu. It's like, oh, I'll just take you to jiu-jitsu and fuck you up there. And then, but yeah, it was always my height and my size. I never came across something where it's like, oh, I just can't do it because I don't have the athleticism, essentially. So
yeah, never.
Yeah.
I can only, that doesn't surprise me.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, you legend.
Okay, all right.
Dude, thanks so much for having me on, dude.
Of course,
big
man.
Pleasure, man.
Well, before I let you go, is there anything we can look forward to? The spotlight is yours. How can we follow you, support you? The floor is yours, brother.
No, thanks for supporting already. We got an Instagram. This is Ruotolo Brothers Jiu-Jitsu, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, thanks for checking in. If you've made it this far, here at the Tenore HQ, rocking the Tenore goods as always. So thank you guys. Much love. And super stoked.
Well, boys, there you have it. You have one of the best grapplers in the world, Tye Ruotolo, making his MMA debut against Adrian Lee. I believe that's September 5th, right? September 5th?
September 5th.
September 5th
yes,
in Thailand, Bangkok, right?
Good man. Yes, sir.
See,
you know it.
I know it. I mean, shit. September 5th in Thailand, in Bangkok, and one championship. I don't believe it's on Amazon Prime. I believe it's just going to be on their website and YouTube, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good, I don't know, honestly.
Yeah, it might be on Amazon, it might be on YouTube. So make sure you guys follow.
Yes,
here's a question. Do you and your brother share the Instagram account?
Yeah, we do. So, the main account we both share.
So do you guys ever, I know you have a girlfriend. You guys both have girlfriends, right?
Yeah. Kade, I don't know, he's a little on the rocks right now.
Have you guys ever like, hey dog, I'm about to jump in this girl's DM. So when you see this come through, just don't disregard that. Don't worry about it, right?
Well, I'm out the game now. You know, there's a primary and a general though. You know, like that was the border right there. The general. You don't want to go to the general, dude. The general is gnarly.
Oh, I fucking love that. I was always curious. I was like, they share an account. What if they have a burner account where they're just shooting Riz? But you have a girlfriend. He's on the
funny.
Okay, so boys,
Kate,
make sure you guys check out his fight against Adrian Lee September 5th on. It's either on Amazon Prime or it's going to be on One Championship YouTube channel or the website. Go there to get the information. I'm your host, Demetrious Johnson. That is our guest, Tye Ruotolo. We will see you guys at the next episode of the MightyCast. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the MightyCast, and we are going to recap everything we just went through with our guests. This part of the episode is called the Mighty Recap. Now, we just have Tye Ruotolo on. A lot of you guys who follow this channel, you guys are more accustomed to mixed martial artists who fight in the UFC, but Tye Ruotolo is probably one of the greatest grapplers to ever grace this earth. He's won everything inside the gi, Europeans, Brazilios, also Pan Am. He hasn't won Worlds yet in a black belt level in the gi. And you guys hear me talk about the gi so much. I'm always talking about the gi because gi is way harder than no gi. And what I mean by that, gi, there's gi, in no gi, there is a curriculum, right? There's a curriculum, but it does not match, it doesn't even come close to the curriculum in the gi. You have spider guard, you have worm guard, you have squid guard, you have lasso guard, you have spider guard, you have deli hiva, re-deli hiva, you have the matrix, you have a list of different types of guards and different things you can do with the lapel. So like you heard one of the best to ever do it say gi is way harder and there's no money in it. That's why I do Nogi. It's way easier and there's money in it, where I feel like it should be the opposite. Something that's way fucking harder, you should be paid way more. But I think the fan base hasn't really caught on to, I don't want to say the fan base because I think it does have a fan base. I think your everyday casual who watches, UFC BJJ or One Championship or anything that's, when Destiny watches gi, she doesn't know what's going on. She prefers to watch Nogi because she says, I like to see the biting mechanics. I like to see people moving around. I don't like to see people get stuck inside of a guard or a lapel. Obviously, she loves when I do gi, but when I do Nogi, she actually enjoys me doing Nogi. She goes, I don't know why you don't do Nogi. And I was like, some of my fucking knees torn. But let's get back to Tye Ruotolo. He's making his MMA debut. Obviously, his brother, Kade Ruotolo, has made his MMA debut. I believe he's 2-0 in mixed martial arts. He's been racking him up over in One Championship. He fights in the 170-pound division. And now Tye Ruotolo is making his MMA debut inside of One Championship in the 170-pound division. Now, if you guys don't know how One Championship works, there is no weight cutting, meaning that you have to weigh in, hit the scales, hydrated at that weight limit. So he's going to weigh in at 170. I think if he fought in America, he would be a perfect 155er. I think he's just a little bit too small for 170 in America. I think guys who walk around at, 190 will be able to outmuscle him, be way bigger. I know Izzy Adesanya, he fights at 185. So a good 170er. In America, you're looking at a guy like Kevin Holland. He'll be able to dwarf, essentially, Tye Ruotolo, but I don't think he'll be able to out-grapple Tye Ruotolo. So that's where it's going to go back and forth. Who knows how that match will go if they were to ever fight. But when you look at Tye Ruotolo, he's taking on Adrian Lee. Now, Adrian Lee is a phenom, very young in the game of mixed martial arts. When I say young in the game of mixed martial arts, he's been fighting his whole life because he comes from a family that's all they do is fight. You have Christian Lee, you have Angela Lee. That's all they do is fight. They're both a world champion. I believe Christian Lee, it might be a double champion. I'm not sure. It's very hard to keep up because these guys move around so damn much. But Adrian Lee is taking on Tye Ruotolo, and Adrian Lee's undefeated in mixed martial arts. And it'll be interesting. What can Adrian Lee do to a guy like Tye Ruotolo who's had so many years of grappling at a very, very high level? I'm not saying Adrian Lee doesn't have the same mat time because Adrian Lee's been doing it since he was a kid, but I feel comfortable saying that Adrian Lee has never grappled against a Galvão or a Levi at a very, very high level where the stakes are extremely high. So it'll be curious to see what Adrian Lee can do to Tye, but Adrian Lee does have more time on the feet, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai. He has way more hours than Tye Ruotolo does. Can he make that? Can he be able to use those hours against a grappling phenom? I feel like you have the traditional striker versus grappler, but Adrian Lee can also grapple. I just don't know if he can be able to grapple against a guy like Tye Ruotolo, who's fucking big and strong. And I'm very excited for this match. When this match got made, I was like, oh shit, Tye's about to make his debut, even though Kade has made his debut. And Kade, I think Kade knocked out his last opponent. They knock people out and then they submit them because he drops them, they wake up, then he submits them with that Darce choke, and then he puts them to sleep. So I feel Tye might have more ways to win this fight because he can grapple and he can also potentially knock out Adrian. But, we have to wait and see. I'm going to switch gears. When we talk about jiu-jitsu and how he said it's socially accepted to take steroids, that kind of hit it on a light bulb went off in my head because drinking alcohol is socially accepted in this country where you go to eat. Would you like something to drink? Would you like an alcohol beverage? You go to a bar. Would you like an alcohol beverage? When you go to your friend's house, you want a beer. You want a glass of wine. It's almost every single place you go to, it's socially accepted. It's almost like it's something you just do. Where me and my wife, we don't drink alcohol anymore. You kind of don't realize how much of it is embedded in the American culture. So when he said that steroids is socially accepted in jiu-jitsu, I was like, huh, that's kind of interesting. How did they become socially accepted? Obviously, you know, originate from Brazil. I never been to Brazil, but he says you can get steroids right off the counter. And then when you're trying to make it out of there, you know, people take it. It's kind of unique to hear him say socially accepted because I've never heard somebody use that term in jiu-jitsu with steroids. It would just say, hey, it's part of the culture, right? It's part of the culture, it's part of the culture. But to hear about how him and Galvão, they fought in IBJJF, he lost, and then Mika popped. I don't know anything about that because I'm still new to the game of jiu-jitsu. Hopefully one day we get him back in the gi. Hopefully we can see him win a world title in the gi in black belt in IBJJF. But he's focused on MMA because that's where all the money is. And his brother's there, and he's probably looking at his brother's bank account, and he's comparing it to his bank account. And he's probably like, I need some of that MMA money right now. So, boys, let me know what you guys thought about this MightyCast. I enjoyed talking to Tye Ruotolo just because I wish he would do more gi. As a fan, and me being selfish, I just like to see guys who've been in the gi for so long to continue in the gi because it's like one of my favorite things to watch. I enjoy watching gi more than MMA just because that's my journey right now. When I was doing mixed martial arts, I enjoyed watching mixed martial arts. Now that I don't do any sparring or any, you know, MMA training, all I'm doing is gi. So I always want to see how people get out of certain positions, whether it's lasso, I already named everything. I want to see how they get out of it. So that's when they had the world championship going on at the adult level. I was fucking glued to the TV like it was the World Cup for soccer. And I'm not really big into watching soccer. So boys, let me know in the comment section below if you guys enjoyed this MightyCast. And make sure you guys check out his fight against Adrian Lee, September 5th in Thailand, Bangkok. I believe it's going to be on One Championship's website, or it's going to be on YouTube, or it could be on Amazon Prime. So make sure you guys, you know, look in the description, or just go to onefc.com's website to figure out where they're going to be streaming it. Watch it because he's a guy that could potentially, you know, he's still young. If he gets 5 or he goes 6-0 in one championship, and let's say he fights out the rest of his contract and he goes, okay, I'm going to go to a different organization and test myself here in America. He comes to the UFC, you'll be able to see his pro debut to see how much you can grow. I mean, a lot of you guys don't know who RDR is, but RDR was a double champion in one championship. So, you know, I finished my career over in one championship because I've done everything in America and I wanted to test myself in Asian waters. So you're seeing the opposite. Same like Rampage Jackson, same as Krokop, same as Fedor Emelianenko, same as Vanderlei Silva, same as Mauricio Shogun Hua. A lot of these guys, they start their career over in Asia in mixed martial arts, and then they make their final transition to the UFC or in America. So Tye Ruotolo has the skills. We're going to see if he has the skill set to start his MMA debut in Asia. And potentially he can end up in the UFC. You just never know where an athlete's career is going to go. So why not take a look at his career before it gets started in mixed martial arts? So boys, check out his fight against Adrian Lee, September 5th. Go to onefc.com to figure out how you can watch it. Like, subscribe. Also hit the bell to go live. And let me know if you guys liked it. We will see you guys. Oh, obviously I'm your host. I'm your host on the MightyCast. The co-host, Michael Wanzover, he is doing something, God knows what. He's not in Thailand with Lady Boys. But we will see you guys at the next episode of the MightyCast.